we have a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court on the popular app known as TikTok. The Supreme Court upholds the law that was passed by Congress in a bipartisan manner, signed into law by Joe Biden last April, to find a new buyer within 270 days. The Supreme Court has now ruled that that law stands. What happens to the app, however, is a wide open question.
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Martin. Today we're going to be talking about the TikTok ban. I did a little digging and I've got some stuff I'd like to show you guys. So let's get started.
Well, it appears to be a dark day for TikTok and its hundreds of millions of users in the United States, as the Supreme Court early this morning ruled that they will in fact uphold the TikTok ban with just 3 days left, essentially just 2 days, 48 hours left for TikTok to shut down in the United States or be sold. It appears, at least very likely, that for some period of time, they're probably going to lose access to TikTok. Now, earlier on, there were a lot of questions about, well, if the U.S. bans it, can you still use the app? Well, that was yes. However, now TikTok has said, we're just shutting down altogether in the United States.
But we're going to make our country greater than ever before, and I appreciate all your support.
Thank you. And you'll never ban TikTok, that's for sure.
I will never ban TikTok.
Thank you.
Now, the Supreme Court has ruled to uphold the TikTok ban, although Trump could choose not to enforce the law. It is unclear whether third-party internet service will support the app. So the original story was you weren't going to be able to upload or download new versions of TikTok, but if you already had it on your phone, you were going to be able to continue to use it until it became obsolete essentially. TikTok then came out and said, no, actually, we're going to shut it down completely. So we don't really know. There's obviously still a chance that someone may buy it. There may be a chance that Biden may punt this altogether. The Supreme Court has upheld the law requiring China-based ByteDance to divest its ownership from TikTok by Sunday or face an effective ban of the popular social media video app in the United States. ByteDance has so far refused to sell TikTok, meaning many U.S. users could lose access to the app on Sunday. The app will still work, or may still work, for those who have TikTok on their phones, although ByteDance has also threatened to shut the app completely down. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration, upholding Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act with President Joe Biden that he signed back in April. Here's the thing. There's a lot of people coming forward wanting to buy it. Kick, the guy from Shark Tank, I think Rumble made an offer at one point. There's no doubt that for 170 million Americans, TikTok offers a distinctive and expansive outlet for expression, means of engagement, and source of community, the Supreme Court's opinion said. But Congress has determined that the divestiture is necessary to address its well-supported national security concerns regarding TikTok's data collection practices and relationship with foreign adversary. Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Neil Grosh have written concurrences. The nation's highest court said that, in its opinion, while data collection and analysis is a common practice in the digital age, the sheer size of TikTok and susceptibility to foreign adversary control, together with vast swaths of sensitive data the platform collects, poses a national security concern.
So a national security concern. I wonder if that's really the reason. Is it because China owns it and they're now mining our data? Did a little digging into that, and that's what I found.
I know for a fact they're not trying to ban TikTok for the reason that it's owned by China. You know how I know that? Because it's not fucking owned by China. It's just fucking not. 60% of the company is owned by international investors, including U.S. investors. 20% is owned by its founders. The other 20% is owned by the employees, nearly 10,000 of which are U.S. citizens. And I know they're not trying to ban it to protect the private information of Americans from the CCP. Do you know how I know that? Because all American user information is on servers in Texas, already overseen by a U.S. company called Oracle. So we know it's not because it's owned by China. And we know it's not to protect our personal information. So the only valid question is, why do they want to ban it? And the answer to that is this isn't about TikTok. If you actually take the time and read through the bill that they just passed, there's one very important thing that this bill allows them to do. That is to shut down or take control of any social media platform that they claim interferes with the election. And who would make that determination? President. The president would have complete power on whether or not to shut down a social media platform. Oh, and if that platform wanted to appeal it, that is going to be ruled by the DC Court of Appeals. This concentrates power over all social media platforms that don't want to get in line, that don't want to give the government what they want, that don't want to do what the government says. That's all this is about. See, they tried to do this before. They tried to do it with Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook and Instagram got in line. They didn't do it with Twitter for a while because Twitter was doing what they told them to do. But then once Elon bought it, they tried it again because X wouldn't get in line. But they couldn't build up enough support for that. One, because Elon's a fucking billionaire. And two, because he's an American who's liked, and they couldn't get enough support to shut him down. So now they're trying it again using the specter of Chinese owned. Aren't you worried about your privacy? No, if I was worried about my privacy, I wouldn't use Google. I wouldn't use Alexa. I wouldn't shop on Amazon. I wouldn't use facial recognition on my phone. I wouldn't go on Facebook and Instagram because we know they're stealing our information. I wouldn't hold this phone in my hand because we all know it's listening. And people are wondering why the government was able to come together and agree on this. Why wouldn't they? Why would the government not come together and agree on granting themselves power? Because that's all this bill does. It takes away your right to privacy and communication and gives it to them. Liberals, get your popcorn out. I'm about to shit on a Republican. This is Representative Michael McCall. And you may not know him, but if you're on this app, you should. Because he wrote the bill to ban TikTok. But he's also done some other really interesting shit recently. So here's Mike's recent questionable activity. On March 3rd, he authored the TikTok ban bill. Then on March 22nd, he invested $150,000 in Meta. On the 26th, he invested another $150,000. And on the 28th, he invested another $150,000. So about 3 weeks after writing the TikTok ban bill, this man invested $450,000 in TikTok's competitor. Oh, and then what did he do once he saw his TikTok ban was going to be included with all the Ukraine funding? Well, on April 1st, he invested $350,000 more in Meta, followed by the 5th, where he invested that again.
Guy.
And then about a week later, of course, he voted yes on the bill he wrote. So within the span of 40 days, this dude wrote the TikTok ban bill, proceeded to invest $450,000 in the competitor, and then invested another $700,000, taking his total investment in Meta to $1.15 million. And then he voted yes. Now, obviously, the word most people are using here is suspicious, but the word we should be using is criminal. This man wrote the fucking bill to ban TikTok, proceeded to invest more than $1 million in its competitor, whose stock will skyrocket if TikTok actually gets banned, and then voted on the bill to ban it. Are you paying attention yet?
Yeah, and then there's more.
Well, as it turns out, the US government will still be allowed on TikTok, even though you and we won't be allowed. This is according to leaked documents obtained by Ken Klippenstein. And here is that leaked document. It says that the Bureau of Global Public Affairs recognizes the substantial opportunity cost of public diplomacy practitioners' inability to access TikTok and is pleased to share that the department has approved 2 limited exceptions to the general prohibitions on use of the platform. The first exception pertains to the monitoring and analysis on TikTok by these public diplomacy practitioners, where they're basically allowed to lurk, but they're not posting actively on the platform. The second exception applies to digital content creators who have been explicitly contracted by the federal government to post content on TikTok. Meaning that if you're a Mr. Beast or a Kelly Clarkson or a Guy Fieri, these folks who have approved deals with the Pentagon to make content that's been approved, then they would continue to be allowed to do so. And the document explicitly explains why there's such carve-outs, saying, quote, "The platform, now one of the most downloaded digital platforms globally, is increasingly a primary source of news for audiences around the world, including those under the age of 35, a critical demographic for PD, that's public diplomacy, engagement. In the near term, conversations on the platform shape the policy environment in which we operate. Long term, they are shaping the perceptions of a generation of foreign audiences." Yeah, so that kind of gives away the whole game there a little bit, in which, it's clear that it's about speech and that we don't deserve speech, but people that have been approved by the US State Department, the Pentagon, these types of people, they can have speech so they can spread their propaganda to other people around the world, allegedly.
It's unbelievable how they get away with all this. And there's more.
which is some wonder why there was such overwhelming support for us to shut down potentially TikTok or other entities of that nature. If you look at the postings on TikTok and the number of mentions of Palestinians relative to other social media sites, it's overwhelmingly so among TikTok broadcasts. So I'd note that's of real interest, and the president will get the chance to make action in that regard.
Just a reminder for those of you who never cared, the TikTok ban is because of Israel. Louder for the people in the back. The TikTok ban is because of Israel. This all started escalating when that AIPAC member, Jonathan Greenblatt or whatever, made a voice note that got leaked that said, we have a TikTok problem. They were afraid that people were waking up and sharing their opinions and the facts about what was happening in Is Not Real in Palestine on this app, and they're like, shit, we need to control this. We need to get this app out of their hands because they are figuring out that we are the problem. We as in Is Not Real. So if you guys want to be mad at anybody, be mad at Is Not Real, because we've been mad for a very long time about what they're doing to the people in Palestine. But if this is what it takes for you guys to care, I mean...
Wow. And there's one last video, and then I'll make a comment and let you go.
So they're pushing another TikTok ban bill really hard, but something does not add up about it at all. All of a sudden, Congress is super pissed, and apparently all agree 50-0 vote to get this bill going. Because they're still worried about China controlling TikTok, but I can tell you, as a TikTok creator, that if China controls TikTok, they're doing an awfully good job of censoring content that is critical of the US government. This is the most recent videos on my backup account. Ignore that one because that's drafts right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 banned videos out of a total of 11 here. But that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one got taken down and were only reinstated when I appealed them. So of the ones that are still taken down and are not going back up, that one's about Jeffrey Epstein, that one's about the CAA, that one's about the CIA, that one's about Big Pharma, that one is about RFK Jr. Why would China be censoring videos about the CIA? And I can tell you from making content on these exact topics all the time that the most censored topic on TikTok, in my experience, is the CIA. In fact, I'm saying the word so much that this video might get taken down too.
So it looks to me like we have a collusion between the Pentagon, the federal government, and the CIA. All have something to gain, and the politicians are cashing in on the foreknowledge of the laws that's being passed. So business as usual. Like and subscribe, and make a comment. Let me know what you think about why the TikTok ban is happening, and I'll see you again soon.